Call to order the Gurnee Village Board regular meeting of February 21st, 2022. Roll call, please.
Garner. O'Brien.
Present.
Balmas. Thorstensen.
Here.
Woodside.
Here.
Ross. 5 present, 1 absent.
I'll stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas. Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross. 5 aye.
Motion carries. Pat?
Item number 1, approval of the minutes from the February 7, 2020 meeting. Item number 2, approval of payroll for period ending February 11, 2022 in the amount of $894,677.49. Item number 3, approval of bills for period ending February 21st, 2022 in the amount of $1,068,076.85.
Is there a motion to approve? Motion by trustee Ross, second by trustee Balmas. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas. Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside.
Aye.
Ross. 5 aye.
All right, we're going to have the next item is the oath of office for firefighter paramedic Nick Perry to fire lieutenant. So, Nick, if you'd like to join me up front. Oath, and then Chief, you're going to have some good words to say, right? What you're up to? All right, just make up some. We don't roast at the village board meeting. Oh, yes. All right. So raise your right hand and say I. State your name.
Nick Perry.
Having been appointed to the office of fire lieutenant
Having been appointed to the office of fire lieutenant
in the village of Gurnee,
in the village of Gurnee,
in the county of Lake,
county of Lake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of fire lieutenant
the duties of the office of fire lieutenant
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
I believe trustee Woodside said this the best. This is the best part of the job. It really is. Having an opportunity to promote people advance their career. Nick's been with us for almost 10 years now. About 2 days ago, he looked about 3 or 4 years older. Nick went on I don't know what it was exactly, an attempt to grow a mustache till he got promoted. He thought somehow that was going to speed this all up. In looking at him, you can imagine what the mustache looked like. No. On a serious note, I told the mayor I do like to roast people, so I had to do a little fun. On a serious note, the amount of things Nick has achieved in his 10 years, it's almost unheard of. Nick has worked through as a probationary firefighter. He got through his career. He moved on quickly to be an engineer. During that time, Nick studied on duty, got his bachelor's degree. He's also got his master's degree. He's also got every fire officer class you can think of. Nick currently teaches over at the College of Lake County. He's who is teaching the future firefighters. He's done all this waiting for an opening to open here in Gurnee. There's plenty of people that are, ready to be lieutenants in the department. Nick just pushed himself ahead of the line as fast as he could and everything he could. And it's well respected. He has that type of personality, but at the same time, he's worked hard in the last couple of years on realizing everyone doesn't have the exact drive he has. And you can see it when he works with the new firefighters. He's been an acting officer for us for the last 2 years. And the amount of time and energy he puts into everyone that starts here He slows down, he teaches, he really wants to see Gurnee grow, and he's a great example for all of us how to advance through our career. He's got a bright future ahead of him, and congratulations to you, Nick. We're going to have Nick's wife, Jessica, come up and officially pin Nick's badge. Nick is a man of many words, so he's asked to have the mic and be able to speak. Plus, I'd like him to introduce who came here tonight. So,
I do love speaking. I'm a very social guy. That was my wife, Jessica. We've been married coming up on 12 years. She's been a big supporter of me, probably the biggest supporter of me. A lot of the headaches, even before I started here at Gurnee, putting up with me and always pushing me and supporting me. The whole reason I got my master's was because she, so I had to catch up. Along with her, she brought her mother, my mother-in-law, Sherry Cohn. My father-in-law couldn't be here tonight, Jimmy, and her sister, my sister-in-law, Jennifer Cohn, also very big supporters of me. I always told stories of the fire department at our family get-togethers and things like that, and they've always told me that I would make it here one day, and they were right. And then my mother, Ruby Perry, and my father, Tommy Perry, again, big supporters of me. It'd be weird if they weren't, but yeah, they've pushed me my whole life, and they raised me right, and I appreciate them every day. And our relationship over the years has grown stronger than I can imagine. I thank you for all that you've done for me over the years. I really love you guys. So, beyond that, the stuff that I've learned over the years, I could not have done without them and without my second family, the fire department. All you guys, and well, there's no gals yet, but all the guys that came out to support me tonight, it really means a lot to me. There's not one of you, except for maybe the one that just got hired recently, that I haven't learned from my peers and superiors over the years, and I definitely have a lot to learn because I don't know everything, and I know that just like you have been doing, you guys will continue to make me look good. So thank you for supporting me, and thanks for coming tonight.
Just want to say, just the turnout tonight is just a testament, I think, to the family that these guys are talking about. And Chief, I really appreciate the atmosphere that you've helped engender in the fire department. That we're proud of you guys. We're proud of, like you said, this is just a great time to see the promotion, see people rise through the ranks. That's what we like to see, and just really appreciate the support that you guys bring in town. And everybody wants to be a fireman, don't they? So thanks. Congratulations again. That's not going to be there for the last.
well, that's the thing. I got
Nice figure, yeah. We're working on it. Sure. Okay. So the next item on the list is recognition of the Gurnee Communication Center's achievement as an accredited center of excellence for emergency medical dispatching by the International Academics of Emergency Dispatch. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mutz, village trustees. Thank you for having us this evening and giving us the opportunity to recognize the important work of our communication center and the life-saving work that our dispatchers do every day. I walked in, I saw the fire trucks, I saw the firefighters, and I'm like, wow. And then I found out there was a promotion. So congratulations to the lieutenant, and job well done. And this is Phil Brunell, our communications supervisor. And as mentioned by the mayor, our center was recently recognized for the ACE Award. And some significance to that, and I think it's important to know, this is in reference to emergency medical dispatching. So 911 calls that are related to medical emergencies. And our center, if you guys recall, we came in front of the board, I think it was back in 2019, to move forward with a new EMD protocol that was pro-QA. And Wendy Mann, our shift leader there, oversaw that project, and so special recognition to her for all of the work that she did on this. And we're here to recognize all of our dispatchers today in the center, but the center will also be recognized at the International Conference in April for this same award. So a little bit of background. Our center handles about 8,100 emergency medical calls a year, and in order to obtain this award, they had to maintain a 90% proficiency over the course of the 6 months leading up to the application and the 3 months following the application in order for them to be recognized and accredited. We are the 8th center in the state of Illinois to be accredited and to receive this award, and so we're here to congratulate them and honor them tonight. And Phil's going to help me call out the names, and we have a unit citation that we will issue to each of the employees for all their dedication and their hard work in maintaining the highest standards of care to those that call 911.
Let's do both shift leaders first. Molly Jones and Wendy Mann. Let's see who's out there. Nikki, I saw you out there. Patricia Costin. Patricia Castling. Brandon Booth. Stacy Schertz. Ashley Teasdale. Okay. Megan Hafman. Joe Zach. Paul's out there somewhere. I saw him.
All right, so we have a few more that we'll hand out back at work, but again, another round of applause for the great work that they do every day.
So for us, it's the behind-the-scenes folks that rarely get your moment in the sun, right? And we just want to really thank you, and from the village board and myself, it's just an opportunity to say that you're important to us. You're super important to the people that you talk to for the first time. I know that just like the fire department, the police department, when you're the first person they talk to, it's all important to them that you know your stuff. And we appreciate it, and I think this award shows that you know your stuff. And we're proud as a part of the village of Gurnee, on behalf of, like I said, the board and myself, thank you for all that you do. And this little piece of moment in the sun, we hope you enjoy it and recognize that we are proud. So thanks again. And picture, yeah, we're going to get a photograph.
Think so. All clear.
Mask was really nice in the pictures if they can't mess up my smile.
Nick, you on this line?
Back now, Nick. That's right.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Think so.
We need some happy news after the regular news, the world news is on tonight.
So the next item on the list is for the presentation by Rob Novak, Vice President of Concessions and Food and Beverage for Marcus Theaters, Auditorium Number 8 proposal, and requested Class 14 liquor license changes. Rob?
Okay, actually, I'm not Rob, to start off with.
We recognize you from the movie theater, so we hope you have a couple jokes for us, right, before we start?
Actually, I want to know where the popcorn is.
Well, actually, yeah, no, I'm Greg Marcus, the CEO. People know me, the movie guy. Hey, you're the movie guy. Yeah, I get that. I came down today with Rob, who's our Vice President of Food and Beverage and Concessions. And I came here today, one, just to say thank you for hearing our plan. And also to just talk for a minute, because I have a little bit of history in that, first of all, it's helpful because Gurnee is very close to where I live. I live in Milwaukee. It's a quick shot down. This is an important project for us, but I thought it was very interesting. So our company's we've been in business for over 86 years. My grandfather started the business, and with a movie theater in central Wisconsin. And yet for over 50 of those years, we never left Wisconsin. The first theater we ever, and now we're in 14 states, the first theater we ever built outside of Wisconsin was right here in Gurnee, nearly 30 years ago. And so we're really proud of the theater, and we've always invested in it, and we believe in it, and we believe in the community, and it's been great, and I think a great relationship. And so I wanted to just come down and thank everybody for hearing us and introduce Rob and just talk to you about how important this theater and this project is to us. And I don't go to too many of these hearings anymore. It's hard to believe my grandfather started the business because I've lost my hair and I'm gray. But we're very proud. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rob. Thank you for hearing us.
Thanks. Well, we appreciate you taking the time to come down, and the theater's important to us too, so we're glad it's important to you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, trustees, for having us. As Greg mentioned, this theater is a very important theater to us, and the concept that we want to present and discuss today is also very important to us. As many of you guys know, the movie theater industry has been ravaged the past 2 years by COVID as much as any other business in America. And this theater we've invested in 2015, we had put another renovation in, to which you guys were so gracious to grant us a liquor licenses. That was a change as movie theaters have seen throughout the U.S. We probably have liquor licenses now, I could tell you, at about 75 of the 88 properties we operate, from full-service bars to full-service in-screen dining, to just having bottles and cans, depending on the community we're in. And in this case, we have a 19-plex, 19 theaters over across the other side of Great America, and we've seen that might be a way for us to bring new guests into the auditorium, because if Hollywood can't produce movies, we need to put content on the screens that continue to bring guests into your community theater and what is a very important theater to us. So we decided that we're going to create a concept that we're going to test. The only theater we're testing this at in the entire country is the Marcus Theater in Gurnee, Illinois. And there's a number of reasons for doing so. It's a fantastic building. It normally has a great throughput of people who come through on an annual basis. And it gives us an opportunity to test a concept close enough to our corporate office in Milwaukee around such a large population base that if we're going to give it a go with the concept we're going to put on screen here, this would be the opportunity and this would be the theater to do it at. So if you don't mind advancing. So what you'll see there is that's auditorium number 8. And auditorium number 8 is all stadium seating. It's all recliners, top to bottom. So the Dream Lounge recliners that we installed in that theater in 2015 maintain. But what we've done is we've installed a laser projector. We don't have a laser projector anywhere else in that building. And that's helping our picture quality. That's helping the clarity of the picture on screen. We've also put a multiplex unit in there that allows us to take that center screen and use the movie theater screen and project it as one image, project it as 4 images as depicted there, with 1 on top, 3 on the bottom. We can go to 4 quadrants. We could go to 3 on the side and 1 center picture. Additionally, we've added 8 televisions to the auditorium. There's the 6 in the front of the auditorium, which I believe are 105 inches, and then we have the ones towards the back, which are a little bit smaller. The objective of this auditorium is we're not going to charge consumers anything to come in. Our guests can come in this auditorium because we're not in a position, you can't really charge for sporting events that are seen on public television, over the airway television as it is. We want to give an opportunity to bring guests in, introduce them to the building, and give them the opportunity to feature our food and beverage. When we renovated in 2015, we added our Zaffiro's Express, our pizza concept. We also have burgers and sandwiches and whatnot. Additionally, obviously, we have our Take 5 Lounge, which is just adjacent to this auditorium. It's actually right outside of the auditorium. But we think this is an opportunity with the fact that live sports is the only thing that's not DVRable in America anymore. It's the only thing that draws people, and the fact that it creates this communal environment that we can do better than just about anyone. We have the best sound system, as I mentioned, laser projection, top flight screens on all the side of it. We see this as a gathering place where people can gather with friends, they can gather with their family, they can come into this environment, they know Marcus Theaters, they know the environment that we offer on a daily basis, and for no charge, we're allowing them to come in there and act as a gathering place for it. Our hope is they enjoy it enough that they stay, they have a meal with us, and they enjoy it. We're going to go in there and put all tables in there, so every single chair has a swivel table where someone could put their meal down and eat. We're also going to put call buttons in there, which leads, if you would advance, first, anybody have any questions on this portion of it? Okay, so when you guys granted us the liquor license in 2015, there were some, portions of it that may be a little restrictive into what we're trying to do here. So that's what I'm looking to do is, there's 3 items that I would like you to consider and take under advisement if you would. The first is delivered auditorium. The way our liquor license is presently constituted, we're allowed to deliver drinks, but inside the space of our Take 5 Lounge. We could, if you went up to the bar and ordered, we could deliver to you inside of that bar. What we're looking to do here is have the ability, with a server inside this auditorium, to deliver directly to the guest at their seat. Otherwise, the guest is going to have to actually get up, leave the auditorium, go out into the lobby, go to the bar, order a drink. All the same restrictions would stay in place. We would still maintain the wristband policy that was put in place in 2015 when you granted us the license. We have no problem with that. We're obviously going to card. We understand the gravity that comes with holding a liquor license. And that's one thing I take pride in with our department is we have a carding system and an outside independent group who comes in every month to all of our locations that serve alcohol, and we test card people. And with that policy, it's called the BARS program. Their objective is to go in and it's basically, you're hiring a private company to perform a sting on your operation to ensure that you're carding. We would continue to do that, and the actual testing of that could be applicable in the auditorium. We don't know because the program is going to test in the bar or the auditorium if you guys granted us that ability. And that's the reason we would look to do this, because we think it offers a better opportunity for the consumer. Some consumers might want to get up and walk to the bar, but some may want to stay in the auditorium if we're going to allow them to order food that they may want to consider to order their beverage as well. The second item is more of a contingency. Additionally, we would look to see if we could have, during peak periods, a portable bar. We don't have plans at this particular time to roll a bar in there, but we see as this concept grows, that if the opportunity were to arise beyond just the servers, that if we had a portable bar with a bartender inside this auditorium to be able to serve to guests, that we would like to have a provision put in the liquor license to allow us to do so. And the third item is the size of the drinks. And this is something that had kind of come up before, and I had reached out to Mayor Hood back in August. I looked back and looked how long ago it was. Originally, when our liquor license was written in 2015, it limited the size of any beer to a 16-ounce vessel and any other drinks to a 12-ounce vessel. And I had brought it up to the mayor before that this is the only theater in Illinois that we have, or in anywhere, that actually has restrictions. And I'm not looking, please, we're not looking to do anything wild. We're not looking to sell magnums of wine or anything of that nature. But in our other theaters, be it in Illinois, and if we just stay in this state with these liquor license, we are afforded the right to sell in different size vessels. So 16-ounce beers, 24-ounce beers, and 32-ounce beers. And then we're allowed to serve the mixed drinks in a little larger size. Again, we're not looking to do anything. We sell 6- and 9-ounce glasses of wine. We sell some of our specialty cocktails, which is our large featured drinks, at 16 and 24 ounces. And part of that is we have a standardized recipe throughout the country that goes, and I mentioned that to the mayor when I originally brought that up, that we create a separate menu for Gurnee because of it, and we've had no problem accommodating that. We haven't seen issues in other cities, other states, and I would tell you that because the way people drink in movie theaters tends to be much different than anywhere else. Most of our guests consume one drink because nobody wants to get up and have to leave their theater. There are no natural breaks to it. So those were the three conditions that I had brought up that we would hopefully see changes to the liquor license with if you would, be willing to consider those.
All right, so at this time, I'll just start on this end to see if you guys have any questions or comments.
Yeah, just to understand the concept, this would function like a sports bar then, inside the theater?
Correct. It would function as a sports viewing auditorium, sports bar, if you will. It's a place where people can gather, watch the sports. That's all it would show. It would not flip-flop back to movies. This would be dedicated to showing live sporting events every single day.
Now, do you imagine having like pay-per-view bigger events in that space as well?
Possibly. That gets into a whole nother situation. We have a deal where we have third-party rights to show specific things. Let's take, for example, the UFC. But those rights are held differently, so we have to show those through a different auditorium. There may come a time where the convergence of the two would take place, but we'd have to charge in that case. So this is at the present time set up just to do live, essentially free sporting events. But yes, we do sell and already show professional boxing at specific events, UFC, some professional wrestling. It just all depends. Those are brought in through third-party carriers. These, we would kind of control all the programming. But yes, there could be a convergence of the two at some point.
Would you be able to have this as a rental if you wanted to rent it out as a group if you wanted to watch a specific
We've
sport?
explored that. I mean, the difficulty becomes, initially we're saying, hey, it might have to be at specific times, because we want this to be open for everyone to gain exposure initially. The important thing is, let's say we were able to start at March Madness. We want to know that weekend of the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, that folks could bring their friends and show it off. And the problem with rentals sometimes is, if it's private, then how do we communicate to the outside world that, hey, it's closed for this, and then people get disappointment. I could see that day coming down the road. Initially, we want to get as much exposure from the community as possible to gain that positive word of mouth and positive PR. Yeah.
That's a really good question, and you covered it. I'll be mildly repetitive, but we are very throughout the company, because it's not just in our theaters. Really, we run into this issue in our hotels a lot, where they want to buy out a restaurant or something like that. And if you can't be consistent with the consumer, if the consumer shows up and you see, sorry, closed for private party, so that as you pointed out, we want to be reliable and consistent, and that goes against that. Once in a while, we might, but we tend to lean against it. I'll just add to that.
Okay. And how are you going to handle access if you're saying it's free to come
So you
in?
would have to you'd go through the box office, and we'd still print off a ticket, because there are a limited number of seats in there. I believe there's like 108. There's 108 recliners inside that auditorium. So if you were to come in and you were to enter, if you and Kevin came together, for example, you'd say, hey, is there 2 seats together? Obviously, we'd have someone at the box office who would check, because we're going to post a host person inside the auditorium at all time, no different than a restaurant has a host, because it's not assigned seating, unlike everything else we do in the theater now, where you have seat A1 and he has A2, and we'd say, hey, there are 2 seats available. The host would communicate back to the box office, absolutely, you can have 2 seats together, go ahead and go in, and we'd print the tickets off, and you'd enter that way.
So it's just in the standing and.
You would have.
Unless you advance ticket.
Right, you would still go to the box office. It would be a little bit of a throwback versus today, where we essentially ask people to buy everything on their phone or stop at the kiosk, so yes.
Not me, I'm still one of those that.
Well, then
stand in that little line.
we welcome all guests. We do not discriminate against how our customers want to pay or come in the building,
I'm
ever.
too old for the modern stuff, So, thank you.
Thank you.
On this side, Mr. O'Brien, Trustee O'Brien?
I think this is a really interesting and cool concept. Thrilled that you considered Gurnee to be your test market. So what a neat idea. I had 2 questions relative to it, well, maybe 3. There's some form of control besides the host that's going to make sure that the people in there don't get too unruly during maybe a specific game
Absolutely.
that tightens things up?
Yes, between the hosts. So we've actually taken it a step further. We've hired a manager, a specific additional salaried manager. It's a gentleman who used to work for Moretti's, if you guys are familiar with the Moretti's restaurant, the group that has Moretti's and Finn McCool's and all of those. So we've actually brought somebody on additional staffing beyond the general manager, beyond the number 2 operations manager. This is a salaried individual who his job is to manage this specific auditorium. That's not something we normally do economically, but we feel that this is the right move for this. Additionally, there'll be an assistant manager. There'll be a manager dedicated to this auditorium the entire time it's open. So beyond just the host function is for someone to make sure that there's enough seating, and maybe the example I gave was improper when I said 2 people, but if a group of 4 or 5, 6 want to come in and it's Saturday at the wrong time, like if you guys want to sit together, that's what the host is there to help communicate back, organize with the servers, act as a lead server to make sure people are getting the help that they needed, while the manager oversees everything, including the content, the level of sound, the level of light. Additionally, the lights will be up in this auditorium much brighter than they would be in a traditional theater. Theater, we actually, we dim stuff down for different reasons as we cue to previews and we cue to the actual feature. This, because we have a laser projector, we're able to put more light on screen, so the actual interruption of the ambient light won't be as bad.
So during a game or something, if we're authorizing larger drinks and they try to navigate from their table and up and down or something like that, has that been taken into consideration? If they leave their table and they want to go somewhere else in the room, or is everything served to them?
Well, it would depend. So to your question, if somebody wanted to have a server go up to them, they would there's a button on the table which they would depress and the server would come to them. If somebody were to elect to leave and exit and go to the bar, they would be able to do that. Now, if you're asking if they would abandon their seat or whatnot, that's what the other purpose of the host is to notice that, these 3 guys were here, they may have went to the restroom, it was commercial, whatever it may be, those 3 seats are still taken.
Thank you. And then I just have one for Tom, or Mayor Hood, sorry. Is this something that we need to get permission from, or not permission from, but insight from police?
Actually, we've talked to the chief, and they've thought through the process, and I want to speak for you, Chief, but my understanding is that they don't find an issue with enforcement with this particular use. Is that correct, Chief? That is correct.
Thank you so much.
So I guess to start, as I'm always concerned that we've got other entertainment venues that we have to compete with, I just want to say that we do need to stay state of the art. Yeah, I did that right. And thank you for bringing the concept to Gurnee, as Trustee Quinn said. The one question I have is also to our police chief. So I know that we have an underage drinking checking program. I don't know what we call that either. But would this fall under those lines? Because I know that they spoke of their own, they're independent.
Yes, it already does. They hold a current liquor license, and so when we do our liquor license checks every 6 months, they're already included in that.
Okay, great. And the last is really just a point that I wish the restrooms could somehow be closer, because I'm thinking of myself watching a football game, waiting for it to go to break, and how do I get
Well, we actually,
everything
we took that into consideration. The restrooms are directly, you walk out the door, the distance from the restroom is from me to the speaker.
So I could run out the
You
door.
could run, I promise. And, well, and I forgot to say this, and this is weird. There's some new technology we're actually going to employ in this auditorium. So because of the fact that there's, you could have up to 12 games, 12 different visuals at one time, there's some technology that we're going to test here. It's on a whim. It's going to be a Wi-Fi based technology. So you're going to log onto your phone, get an app, and you can link up. Say you have your AirPods with you, put your AirPods in, and you can listen to the specific game you want. Because let's just say the Bears game's on the main screen, and you're not there for the Bears game, but you have one of the other games. I'm not telling you could do this, but if you walked in the restroom and kept your AirPods in and kept your phone with you, you'd still hear the sound.
Okay.
Because it's all through the Wi-Fi. I don't want to encourage people to use their cell phones in the restroom, but I'm telling you, it works.
That's what I need to know. I know those timeouts are
Right,
social.
but it's right across from it.
All right, thank you.
Very good. I believe that's it. We really appreciate your presentation. I mean, this is informational at this point, then there'd be a formal process that would come back up before us.
Yeah, if the village board's amenable to the requested changes, then I'll work with Attorney Winter to amend the municipal code, and it'll come back before the village board at a future meeting for consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is the presentation by Finance Director Brian Gosnell, fiscal year 21-22, third quarter financial performance. You ready, Brian?
I think so. New projector here. We might have to move to the new theater. Have the finance report, budget meeting in there or something. All right, so we're looking at third quarter here, ending January 31st. Just looking at cash and investments, total cash and investments, just over $46.3 million. That excludes the pension funds. 36% of that is in checking accounts, 41% in money market accounts, and then 20% in the investment account we have at Schwab, managed by Sawyer Faldudo. 62% of those funds are in our general fund, 17% capital improvement. Just to note that that includes $2 million from the Warren-Waukegan Fire Protection District contribution, and then 11% in water and sewer. Specifically at the general fund, through the third quarter, total revenues $38.1 million, total expenditures $30.2. That gives us a surplus so far of $8 million. We do project a significant surplus to carry through the end of the year. We'll talk more about that when we get to the budget. Just some notable negative variances here, looking specifically at kind of the yellow and the red arrows you see there on the screen, comparing budget to actual. The timing of licensing, liquor licensing happens in the fourth quarter. Court fines have been down. They've been down all year, actually, for a couple years now, and that'll continue. We'll talk more about that when we get to the budget, but that carries through next year. Investment gains and losses, the negative $50,000 you see on the screen there, that's the first red arrow. That is market losses. So the village's portfolio, we hold everything to maturity, so we won't actually realize that, but we have to mark to market is the technical term for it, per GAAP rules. Insurance timing, the work comp, all those have already been done, so that throws off a couple things, specifically the employee benefits one with the workers' comp insurance, and the other contracted services. So at ice control, obviously that's happening now, so that's a third and fourth quarter impact. And then rebate agreements, because we have a base in most of our rebate agreements, those aren't reached until the fourth quarter, so we'll see that expense come largely in the fourth quarter. Major revenues make up 65% of all general fund revenues. Annual budget $27.5 million. Year to date we've collected 25.7, so we're way ahead of the curve here. 93.4% versus 75% of the way through the year. That's up almost 60% versus last year, which we would expect because of the pandemic. But it's also up 13.5% versus 2 years ago, which is the last normal year. So very strong performance here. Up 21.4% versus the adjusted budget. If you recall, we budgeted in such a way to assume recouping 75% of the loss during the pandemic. So local use tax, one of the things we're seeing with the new internet tax, that's boosting sales tax in part. those are taken away from that local sales tax, obviously in a much smaller scale. So for every, dollar we lose in local use tax, we'd get 7 or 8 in sales tax. I don't know the exact ratio, I haven't figured that out, but you get the idea. Sales tax annual budget, $16.5 million. Year-to-date, we've collected 15, or 90.6% of the way there. Again, almost 42% over last year, which we'd expect, 17% over 2 years ago, and just over 21.6% of the adjusted budget. Again, the big thing we can see here that I can actually measure to is about half of that is due to the internet sales tax, which we'll talk a lot more about when we get into the budget, in the budget meeting, and that impact on next year. Amusement tax, again, strength here. We've already exceeded budget. We're at 111.1%. It's up 466 versus last year. Again, we would expect that. Down just slightly versus 2 years ago. So we're tracking to a normal year pretty well, up 26.4% against the adjusted budget. Food and beverage, seeing a similar thing. We've already exceeded budget here, 101.9%, up 85% versus last year, almost 12% versus 2 years ago, and 24% versus the seasonally adjusted budget. Hotel tax is one area where we're seeing a little bit of hesitancy here to kind of get back to normal. Year to date, 1.5, we're at 104% of budget, 291% versus last year, but we're down 3% versus a normal year. So that's where we're seeing strength from the Great Wolf and a little bit of hesitancy, I think, to get back to those normal activities that you do in a traditional hotel, banquets and things like that. On the water and sewer side, total revenue here, $7.5 million. Total expenditures, 7.1, so we're 416,000 ahead year to date. Notable variances here. We also see the investment gains and losses, the market side of it here. Insurance, Java purchases, the seasonality of that. On the supply side, we have purchased the reading devices. We've made that purchase for the whole year, maxed that budget out. And then the timing of the debt service on the IEPA loan, which is done. So we made that 100% of that debt service for the year. And then just finishing up on the water and sewer side with water usage, we're up 30% versus last year and 20% versus the last normal year. Dug a little deeper into this, and it looks like it's split fairly evenly between industrial users and residential users. So, obviously, industry coming back, and then I think people are just at home more than they have been in past years. So, and with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Jeannie or Kevin Woodside? No? Trustee Thorstensen? Yes.
It's not exactly a quarterly performance question. It's kind of because you just talked about the water bills. So I've been talking with Jack about a resident that was asking for something, and I think it came through our normal course. But I was just wondering, do we give any general explanations out in our newsletter or something, like you're talking about the breakdown is industrial as much as residential or half and half? Do we give any type of, I'll say, overall interpretation as to what you could do and watching it? I know that you could look at your meter now, and a resident called me saying something about that they were out of town, which I'm sure you already know about this, so I didn't have to do anything. But, as a person that's not traveling a lot these days and mostly working at home, I hear if my toilet keeps running, I'm hearing it. Is there some communication that would be helpful for our residents?
Yeah, so we put out a ton of information on the bill and some newsletters. I know we did at least one newsletter. Sorry, Jake, you want to? Okay. And then we also, how we meter and bill now, everything's on a 2-month delay, basically. So if you had a leak and didn't know it, you wouldn't know it until you got the next bill. The meters that we were talking about, that we just purchased 100% of those in the water fund, and that we're actually installing right now, and we're just getting ready to roll out. In fact, it came across the email today, some material on this new Ion Water program, which allows people to go in and see, I think it's down to like a quarter hour or even an hour, how their usage is, and set up alerts if they exceed a certain level. So it gives you much more flexibility, but we're just now getting to the beginning stages of rolling that out. So we tried to get information out there. Unfortunately, the way we bill, it's a 2-month lag, and, you know, we work with people if something like that happens.
I like the alert idea.
What's that?
That sounds good, the alert idea.
Yeah, and that's literally, we just,
Yeah, just today.
did some of that today, so.
So, and this is Heather's accomplishment with the Public Works Department and the Orion changeout. So with it comes an app, and so people can download the app, look and get real-time data on usage. So we're putting that in the newsletter coming out in March, so we are putting it there. At least once a year, we try to put out in the newsletter something about, like last year, actually for this edition, we did a fixing your leaks. So just reminding residents on all the steps that they can check for leaks, checking toilets, running, stuff like that. So it is something we try to regularly put out there, just so people are aware that's an issue.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep.
Great job, Brian.
Yep, thank you, Brent.
Okay, before we move on quick, we do have a committee of the whole schedule for Monday. I don't have anything. We have trustee budget meetings this week, and then March 7th, we're starting at 5 PM, so we'll be spending a lot of time together here in the next couple of weeks, so.
Does that mean
So
you
I
don't
make
want
a
to
motion.
spend more time with us?
I'm fine spending as much time as you guys like, but I know trustee Baum is
She's had it.
I'm always on top of
on a
those.
different page, so.
So
It's not
is there a
necessary.
motion to
So moved.
cancel the committee of the whole for
February 28th.
February 28th? Motion by trustee Balmas. Second by trustee Ross. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries. Thank you, Pat. Okay, so the new business items, item number 1, approval of police department request to waive bidding requirements and award dispatch radio console and hardware upgrade project to Motorola Solutions at cost not to exceed $324,472.96. Expense approved by the NLCCET-SB on February 8, 2022 for 100% and reimbursement. Pat?
Sure, so I'm going to kick it to our communications supervisor, Phil Burnell, to walk you through the next 2 items as it relates to some equipment upgrades at the police department. And along with Phil, Chris Valker's here as well, if we get too technical on it, so. Phil?
I got to move this a little shorter. So what we're trying to do is, our councils, now that we've moved to full-time capability on Starcom, the councils that were put in back in 2015, they're based off a Windows 7 platform. They're, obviously, Windows 7 is outdated. We're moving towards to go to the core of the system from M core to K core. I know I'm going to talk a little technical, so I'll try to keep it easy on you. So under the current system that we're under is K core, and we're going to move to N core. K core is kind of like a fixed mobile radio system talking into the system, kind of like the officers wear on the street. They're portable radio, but we're using a fixed mobile radio inside the station. We're going to move from K core to M core, which will be a direct connection by IP link down to the state of Illinois. That will make us sound more like a radio base station. It'll give us some advantages, being able to have council priority. Council priority basically is the fact that if a field unit keys up and and the dispatch is currently keyed up, they can talk over what's going on, what the dispatcher is, so they lose their priority. When we move to the M-Core side, we'll have council priority throughout the whole thing. So that's one of the key elements we're doing. We're going to add another shift leader position, or we're going to add a 7th position for the shift leader's office. We're trying to get the shift leader to have a full dispatch position in their back office, so that can help us on that. Am I missing anything, Chris? And as far as communication side of things, moving into the Starcom, Zion moved back in July of 2020. We did a lot of testing with them prior. We had to wait for Lake County to build out all their sites. They originally had about 7. Now they're at 11. We're very fortunate to have one right here at our tollway building, so our coverage is very good. Another big bonus to that is that during these construction season with the CLC building, there's a requirement for law enforcement and fire that if you're going to do a major reconstruction, you need to put in amplifiers to help the police and fire frequencies, so they're in the process of doing it. When Key Lime Cove and Great Wolf took over, Great Wolf had to do the same thing. Nothing's perfect. There's never 100% coverage for any radio frequency. This 700 to 800 megahertz spectrum doesn't like concrete and steel. We did a bunch of testing in basements of the school, things like that. Our coverage is really well. We think this is a good move for the department and for us and for Zion to move forward with this. On the other side, the voice logger side, Chris is probably much better at that than I am. But how we do it now is we're recording our radio channels off the headset audio, what the dispatcher's listening to. When we make this move to MCOR, we'll actually be able to do up to 25 talk groups at one time. So even if we're not selected on it, we'll be listening to them. Under the Starcom network, there's hundreds of talk groups, hundreds of encryption. It's a statewide interoperability. It's going to move up into we're going to have interoperability up into Wisconsin soon. So this is the wave of the future. I think we need to make this change to keep us up to date. Any questions?
Thanks, Phil. Does somebody have a question for Phil?
I just have one, and I think you probably already addressed it, but it's about coverage. And I just noticed in the Motorola document that no coverage map provided and no guarantees about coverage are made, which I just want to make sure that we're comfortable with that. The system has been built out and coverage is no longer an issue. Is that why that language is in there? Are we comfortable with that?
Yeah, coverage is no longer an issue. The statewide network, the Starcom 21 network has 240 sites statewide. Coverage is about 95% throughout the state. In Lake County, we have the 11 sites. There's roughly 2,000 radios on those 11 sites. Like I said, we did a lot of testing, inside building coverage, in basements. The best places we thought in our previous frequencies we had problems. We tested them. We seem not to have any more problems anymore, so that's what the improvement is going to be.
Well, there's no question that Starcom is a far superior solution to the 800 megahertz radio system. And so I'm glad to see us make the complete conversion. So
I don't see any coverage issues, but like I said, nothing is 100%.
no guarantees from you or Motorola.
And no guarantees from Motorola.
Thanks.
Trustee Bowles?
I'm all for being on top of this, but with the talk about the county or the state taking over, what do we call these?
Consolidation?
Yeah, the whole consolidation. Is this money that, will they absorb this and use this material that we purchase? Or how will that potentially play out if we were to become part of that consolidation? Or is it,
If we,
and I don't know how far down the road it is, but, we're expending X amount of money that you'd hate to see it just be wasted too.
if the decision was ever made to close the center, this Starcom network is on the councils itself. So all the 6 positions that are currently there, those are where that's where the councils are connected to. So once we shut down the system, if we shut down the Gurnee Dispatch Center ever, that's going to be, all that equipment's going to be shut down. So yes, potentially yes, that could be an investment we'd make. And if the village shuts it down, that's going to be an investment we lose.
Okay, then.
County timeline is they were looking at the building completed in '25, so that's still
That's still.
a couple of years down the road,
Okay.
so.
That makes me feel better.
Any other questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by trustee Bowles, second by trustee Woodside. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas. Thorstensen.
Yes.
Woodside. Ross. 5-0.
Motion carries. Item number 2, approval of police department recommendation to award logging recorder upgrade project to Equator at a cost not to exceed $73,869. Expense approved by the NLCC ETSB on February 8, 2022 for 100% reimbursement. Pat?
So Phil summarized that as far as the ability to record up to 25 talk groups simultaneously, connected directly to the core, Again, as the mayor just read, this was before the joint ETSB on February 8th for reimbursement. They approved that. Both of these items were budgeted for in our budget in the ETSB budget, so that cost will be reimbursed to us.
Any questions for the board? Motion by trustee
Second.
Ross, second by trustee O'Brien. Roll call, please.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Balmas.
Aye.
Thorstenson.
Yes.
Woodside. Ross. 5-0.
Motion carries. This time it's for public comments. Anybody that would like to make a public comment may step up to the microphone and state their name. There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion by trustee Balmas, second by trustee Thorstenson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.